Okay, we're going to look at Mametz Wood, and we're first going to look at the structure of the poem to see if it can reveal anything. It's a strange poem that doesn't seem to have many structural properties, but there are some that maybe we can look at, and it might help us as we approach the meaning of the poem. Now, the first thing, of course, we begin with is, once again, it is broken up into stanzas. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 stanzas of 3 lines each. That's the easiest first step we can make. Oh, let me bring that into view a little bit, okay? 7 stanzas of 3 lines each. That's the first thing that we notice. The rhyme scheme is irregular. The rhymes show up in some strange places. So if I can show you some, let's see. We have blades, which actually rhymes with blade here. And they're blades being used in 2 very different ways. Plow blades, the things that you use to unearth the ground for agriculture. And then here we have a shoulder blade, which is a human body part. So already that rhyme, even though it might seem random, might be telling us something. Actually, the word plate here slightly rhymes with both those words as well. So already we see a kind of set of associations. Whether this means anything or not, we can find later. Right now, we're just trying to identify things that fit in a structural analysis. So if we continue, we get, in the next stanza, we get the rhyme between run and guns. Across a field where they were told to walk, not run, almost the way I would talk to a year 7. This is almost like a teacher speaking. I'm going to just put that here because that's the first thing I think about with that line. Towards the wood and its nesting machine guns. Now again, we have an ominous kind of suggestion about why these students were told, or these people told, to walk, not run, and does it have something to do with these guns? So that's, I'm going to say, a negative association. The next rhymes that I was able to find actually come all the way at the end. As if the notes they had sung have only now, with this unearthing, slipped from their absent tongues. I love the ending of this poem, something we should talk about later in trying to talk about the meaning of the poem. But for now, I think it's just worth noting that rhyme between sung and tongue. Again, does this give, it's not a couplet, but this rhyme gives the poem a sense of finality, a sense of ending, and for me, just a little bit, a sense of mystery. If we go back and start once again reading the poem, there are other structural and poetic features. If we just look, we see a lot of alliteration in the poem. So farmers found, I'm going to write it here so that we have this word, alliteration, which is, again, the repeating of a sound. It's something that often you won't notice until you're really paying attention. It's just something to get your attention, something to suggest other meanings through a sound being repeated. A chit of bone, china plate, blade blown, broken bird's egg of a skull, breaking blue. We get that association again, breaking and broken. Stands sentinel. Oh, I just noticed the repetition of this phrase, into itself. That's repeated. Wound, working. No, not surface of the skin. Yeah, sure, surface of the skin. Broken again. So we get a lot of broken in this. Broken. We get, where was it? Broken twice. Breaking. So actually, in addition to alliteration, we have repetition, which is not something I noticed upon the first few readings of this poem. Of course, you would have the wrong idea if you think I'm doing this automatically. I've read this poem a number of times. I've looked at things on the internet and other sources to help me try to identify things. But as I'm reading it once again for this video, I'm noticing new things I've never seen before. We have the bone again. Skeletons. Have we seen that before? Doesn't look like it. Okay, so structurally, once again, what we've noticed are irregular rhyme. I should write that too. Irregular rhyme. If you were writing an essay on this, you'd want to give the line numbers where those rhymes occur, those rhymes where you see them. Alliteration, we have the repetition of sounds often, but then we have the repetition of words, which seem to emphasize certain ideas. We've talked about blades being repeated. I'll put that in a box. We have the idea of broken and breaking being repeated. We have the bone being repeated and into itself repeated. Now, again, since we're just doing the structural analysis, what to make of these things, I don't know yet. I don't know what we could say. But I will say this about the poem. It's quite impersonal. No one's named. No names. It feels like a story. A story, and there's some images, really strongly drawn, almost painted images, and there is an emphasis on fragility, which we'll go through in the interpretation section. Also, I find the poem sad, but sad is, a really weak word here. I'm going to try using a better word. I feel a little bit melancholy. I think the word melancholy reminds me of Sunday evenings, that kind of stirring feeling I get inside me that for some reason the weekend's over, and it's not just a funny thing, oh, I have to go back to school, but it's more something deeper inside me that speaks to something sadder. That for me is melancholy. If you wanted a more precise definition, I recommend you look at that word up in the dictionary. All right, these are some of the major structural issues I think are going on in the poem. I've already begun a little bit of the interpretation, but the next video will look at an interpretation of Mametz Wood.